What do Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, and a former Chinese protester have in common? Billions of dollars and complete trust. This is the story of Li Lu, a man who escaped a political revolution, arrived in America broke, and ended up managing money for some of the most legendary names in investing history. He didn't grow up with privilege. He didn't have connections. He wasn't even supposed to survive. But through unshakable discipline and rare brilliance, he became one of the most fascinating figures in global finance, and one of the few people Buffett and Munger trusted with their money. So, how do you go from surviving on rice in a refugee camp to managing billions on Wall Street? Let's rewind. Li Lu's journey doesn't begin with a finance degree or a family business. It begins in the wake of China's Cultural Revolution, a period marked by political purges, famine, and destruction of traditional institutions. He was born in 1966 in Tangshan, a city that would later be hit by one of the most devastating earthquakes in human history. That disaster, in 1976, killed over 240,000 people and destroyed almost everything in the area. Li Lu lost close family members in the quake, and he spent parts of his childhood living in makeshift shelters and struggling through poverty most of us can't fully grasp. But there was something about him, even as a child, that seemed wired for survival. Not just physically, but mentally. He had a hunger for learning, and despite the odds stacked against him, he got into Nanjing University, one of the top universities in China. He studied physics, but kept one eye on the rapidly changing political landscape. In 1989, when student-led protests for democratic reforms began to gather in Beijing, Li Lu became one of the leaders of the Tiananmen Square movement. He helped organize sit-ins, gave speeches, and even held press conferences with international media. When the Chinese government declared martial law and tanks rolled in to shut down the protests, Li Lu found himself on a government list of wanted dissidents. Many of his fellow activists were arrested, some disappeared, and others were killed. Li Lu escaped. He went into hiding for over a year, moving between safe houses, relying on a network of supporters to keep him out of reach. Finally, he managed to leave China through Hong Kong and was granted asylum in France, the only country at the time that was accepting these immigrants who were being hunted by the Chinese communist regime. Shortly afterward, he moved to the United States, choosing to live in New York City. And that's where the second chapter of his life begins. By the time Li Lu set foot on American soil, he was only 23 years old and had already been through more than most people see in a lifetime. But he didn't arrive bitter or broken. He arrived determined. With almost no money, no family nearby, and still learning English, he somehow managed to get accepted into Columbia University, not for one program, but for 3. He studied economics at Columbia College, earned a law degree from Columbia Law School, and an MBA from Columbia Business School, all within a few years. That alone would be impressive, but what makes it even more remarkable is that he never seemed to treat these degrees as stepping stones to wealth. For Li Lu, education was about survival, understanding, and finding clarity in a world that had shown him chaos. He read voraciously, and he didn't limit himself to what was assigned. However, he had another problem to deal with. Although he had earned a few scholarships to attend Columbia University, Li Lu still had to take on considerable debt to fund his education. While searching for ways to make some extra money, a classmate gave him an intriguing suggestion. If you want to learn how to make money in America, there's a talk at the business school you have to attend. Without knowing what to expect, Li Lu walked into the room, took a seat, and waited. Soon, a friendly 63-year-old man stepped up in front of the small audience and introduced himself as Warren Buffett. During the talk, Buffett shattered the image Li Lu had of the stock market, a place he had associated with greed and manipulation. What he heard instead was unlike anything he imagined. Buffett didn't speak of stocks as mere ticker symbols or prices flashing on a screen, meant to be bought and sold at whim. To him, stocks represented real ownership in actual businesses, and the goal was to accumulate these stakes over time, much like buying slices of companies with lasting value. That day, in 1993, marked the beginning of Li Lu's investment journey, anchored in one fundamental principle: intrinsic value. Buffett explained that stock behavior changes depending on the time horizon. In the short term, prices fluctuate wildly, reacting to shifting investor sentiment, economic forecasts, political events, and thousands of individual buy and sell decisions. But over the long run, stock prices tend to gravitate toward the true worth of the underlying business. In fact, this concept was not an invention of Warren Buffett. He had learned it from Benjamin Graham, his professor at Columbia, and the man widely considered the father of value investing. The idea that investing could be approached with discipline, patience, and a long-term mindset profoundly spoke to Li Lu. It wasn't about chasing fast money or timing markets. It was about understanding the value of something so deeply that you could ignore the noise. And it turned out that Li Lu wasn't just interested in this philosophy, he was naturally good at it. While still in his early 30s, he started investing on his own, and before long, his returns began to speak for themselves. But that's also when something unusual happened. He didn't immediately build a hedge fund, slap his name on a glossy office, or try to raise billions in assets. Instead, he kept things small and focused. He started Himalaya Capital in 1997, named after the towering mountain range that sits between Tibet and Nepal, a name that symbolized both endurance and elevation. He believed that in order to make good decisions with money, you needed independence. Not just financial independence, but independence of thought. And that idea would eventually attract some powerful minds. In the world of value investing, there's no greater endorsement than Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. These are two of the most respected investors in history, and they don't hand out praise lightly. So when both of them began mentioning Li Lu's name, people started paying attention. Charlie Munger, in particular, became something of a mentor and advocate for Li Lu. He reportedly once said that Li Lu was the only person he would ever trust to manage his family's money outside of Berkshire Hathaway. That's not a casual compliment, it's a deeply personal statement from a man known for his blunt honesty and high standards. Munger saw in Li Lu a rare combination of intellect, humility, and discipline. He also admired how Li Lu was able to bridge two worlds, the Western model of capitalism and the Eastern understanding of culture, politics, and human behavior. It was Li Lu who first encouraged Buffett and Munger to take a closer look at China as an investment opportunity. Up until then, both had largely stayed focused on the US market, but Li Lu explained how certain Chinese businesses were operating with the same kind of long-term focus, economic moats, and strong leadership that they looked for in American companies. Thanks to his insights, Berkshire Hathaway eventually made its historic investment in BYD, the Chinese electric vehicle and battery company. Munger later said it was one of the best decisions they had ever made, and that opportunity would likely have been missed if not for Li Lu's quiet influence behind the scenes. But again, unlike many who might have used this moment to catapult themselves into the media spotlight, Li Lu stayed mostly silent. He kept building Himalaya Capital, continued studying businesses, and focused on investing with care and clarity. The extraordinary results of this strategy have become clearly visible to the world. Although Himalaya Capital made losses in its first 2 years due to investments in the Asian market, which was going through a deep crisis, in the long term, Li Lu's firm achieved fantastic figures, 30% annual return since its creation in 1998. Today, the company manages $15 billion in assets. In a world where so many financial voices are loud, self-promotional, and constantly chasing the next trend, Li Lu was earning respect from the people who matter. When people hear the term value investor, they often assume it means buying cheap stocks or looking for companies that have been beaten down by the market. And while that's one interpretation, Li Lu takes it much further. For him, value investing isn't about bargain hunting in the traditional sense. It's about deeply understanding a business, its leadership, and its place in the world over the long haul. He's known for being incredibly selective. Some years, he barely makes more than a few investments, and sometimes none at all. And that's because he follows the idea that if you can find one extraordinary business at a fair price and hold it for decades, you don't need to trade constantly or chase trends. You need patience, conviction, and time. Not many fund managers have the discipline to operate like that, especially when there's pressure to show short-term results. But Li Lu isn't trying to impress clients every quarter. He's thinking in decades. One of his most well-known investments is BYD. Back when many people doubted whether Chinese tech and manufacturing companies could compete globally,
have you seen their car?
The Chinese investor looked past the headlines and saw something different. He studied the leadership, the structure, and the long-term vision of the company. And he understood that in China, success often depends on how a company navigates both business and government relationships. Most Western investors didn't have that insight, but Li Lu did. And that speaks to something else he does differently. He invests in areas where he has a deep advantage. He doesn't spread himself thin across dozens of sectors or countries. He focuses on areas he truly understands. If he doesn't have that edge, he simply passes. In a way, it's the exact opposite of how many hedge funds operate today, with armies of analysts and massive portfolios. Li Lu keeps it tight, quiet, and focused. That's not a flashy story, and it's not easy to copy, but that's the point. His success isn't built on shortcuts or secrets. It's built on clarity, independence of thought, and a willingness to sit still while others panic or rush in. But it's not just his investment strategy that makes this investor different. It's what he's doing with his success that tells you what kind of man he is. For someone managing billions, Li Lu lives a surprisingly low-key life. Despite having published a book in 1990 reporting his life experience in China, he usually avoids the spotlight, rarely gives interviews, and keeps his private life almost entirely out of public view. But what we do know is that he's just as serious about giving back as he is about investing. He has donated millions through his foundation, and he's deeply involved in education initiatives both in the US and China. He has helped fund schools, scholarships, and programs that give young people access to the kind of opportunities that changed his own life. And he doesn't do it to polish his image or land on some philanthropy list. He does it quietly, thoughtfully, and with a long-term mindset. People close to him say he views money as a tool, not for power or luxury, but for building things that last. That includes building trust, building understanding between cultures, and building up the next generation of thinkers and leaders. And that's probably the most interesting part about Li Lu. Even though he's known for managing money, it's clear that what drives him isn't money at all. The Chinese investor is more interested in ideas, in human progress, and in the responsibilities that come with privilege. His story is more than a lesson in investing. It's a reminder that success isn't just about being the smartest person in the room. It's about thinking for yourself, staying true to your principles, and never losing sight of where you came from. From Tiananmen Square to Wall Street, from protests to portfolios, from hardship to legacy, Li Lu's life shows what it means to build something meaningful, one quiet decision at a time. Do you think investors like Li Lu are becoming more rare, or are there still people out there building wealth with that kind of patience and purpose? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story interesting, or if you learned something new today, please give it a like and hit subscribe for more deep dives into people who move the world in unexpected ways. Now watch this other video on the screen, which travels to Mexico to show you the empire of a Mexican tycoon who was once the richest man in the world.